world that Tolkien has created is a world of myth and magic, as well as a world of strange creatures.
The actual beginning, though it's not really the beginning, but the actual flashpoint was, I remember very clearly. I can still see the corner in my house in 20 Northmore Road where it happened. I got an enormous pile of exam papers there, and marking school examinations in the summertime is an enormous, very laborious, and unfortunately also boring. And I remember picking up a paper and actually finding. I nearly gave an extra mark for it, extra 5 marks, actually. There was one page on this particular paper was left blank. Glorious. Nothing to read, so I scribbled on it, I can't think why. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. I think that was eventually published in 1937. I now wanted to try my hand at writing a really stupendously long narrative and to see whether I had sufficient art, cunning, or material to make a really long narrative which would hold the average reader right through. The best, one of the best forms for a long narrative is, as was found in The Hobbit, this is a much more elaborate form, of the pilgrimage on journey with an object. So that was inevitably the form I adopted.
Frodo began to feel restless, and the old paths seemed too well trodden. He looked at maps and wondered what lay beyond their edges. He took to wandering further afield, and more often by himself. He used often to say there was only one road, that it was like a great river. Its springs were at every doorstep, and every path was its tributary.
Well, they have lots of adventures, and they make friends with a lot of very interesting and influential elves, who are very important people in that part of the world. But finally, they're attacked by the orcs, these horrible sort of goblin creatures.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am the verger of Merton College. Welcome to the college. I understand you wish to see know all about the college and also the old medieval library. The college itself is the oldest college in Oxford, founded by Walter.
This was all blocked. Of two very English and extremely British parents. I think it was a kind of double coming home, which made the effect on the ordinary English meadows, countryside, and breaks so immensely important to me. I was, on the whole, a rather puny, over-mothered, timid little creature who was not much of a success. I eventually became a fairly ordinary scholar. Turned out to be good at rugby football, of all odd things. Let me say at once that owing to the casualties in the war and various other things, there are very few people to elect. Too big a job for me, really. Which means to say that I was legally removed. It couldn't be in the springtime when that tree wouldn't look sad, but covered with leaves, you see. Look old but not sad. And these, that looks like kind of plain, doesn't it, something? Whatever that tree is, and these are limes. But all the limes have such a, however old they are, they're lovely green in spring. I have always, for some reason, I don't know why, been enormously attracted by trees. All my works is full of trees. I suppose I have actually, in some simple-minded form of longing, actually would like to. I should have liked to be able to make contact with a tree and find out what it feels about things. And the old Ent says a few things, doesn't he, about feeling the sap run up and the opening to the sun. Trees, and a lot of trees have gone, big trees from there, you see. There's much more woody, and there was a long line of trees, this kind only younger, all along the wall, so those houses couldn't see you and you couldn't see them when they were in leaf. Yes. It was a much more secluded garden.
They chained the scholars instead of the books. I said, you'll pardon me, madam, been very foolish of them. She said, why? I said, our scholars come and go. Our books must remain with us. She said, thank you very much. I said, it is my pleasure. There was
that's dreadful. The cans were all togged up. I've never seen them so tidy.
It seems to me that there is an air of what I would call donnish pastime about all Tolkien's works.
Can't get out. There's a great damn thing in the way. I'll try and climb up, wait a minute. Well, hello, chap, what are you doing down there?
Oh, that's the entrance to the office at the bottom. Above it, you have the Queen's room, where Queen Henrietta... So it's actually the office, of course, is to do with the estates office, you know, where they deal with all the estates belonging to the college. I see. And here's the bursar just coming across.
He's very helpful.
Yeah. And there, through the door, their sharp right, of course, is the... State's office. Quite a modern little fellow.
It's a pity the book didn't catch on a bit sooner, isn't it?
Tolkien is... I suppose if you have to put Tolkien in a category, you class him with those other Oxford dons, Lewis Carroll at Christ Church and C.S. Lewis, who both of them created sort of fantasy worlds in much the same way. There was Lewis Carroll's Wonderland and C.S. Lewis's Narnia. They were slightly different. They were less substantial than Middle-earth, Tolkien's Hobbit land.
In this world, Tolkien has placed different countries, different races, different languages, and he has given it all a sense, gives the reader a sense of solidity.
Because Tolkien remained very much a scholar when he wrote his book.
He's never scientific. Even mountains are described by the way they think, which is not a precisely modern idea.
In fact, he's not writing in the science fiction genre, is he? It's more like a glorified fairy story.
Well, I think it's a very basic appeal, because everybody likes a fantasy. They like to escape from life when it becomes dull and boring. And you can get this kind of escape through detective thrillers and science fiction stories and spy stories. But you always come back to the real world, thinking that it's even duller and more boring than it was before. And you think, I wish I was the first man on the moon, or I wish I was a spy instead of leading the kind of life I'm leading. Whereas when you finish reading The Lord of the Rings, not only have you had a marvellous adventure story and a marvellous fantasy, but some of the magic has rubbed off on the ordinary, very homely things of life, like a good meal.
Like food, there's a great joy in food.
Food? Never been a trencherman. I admire trenchermen, therefore I make... But I like, I must say, since England produces the best basic food in Europe, on the whole, it does.
And drink, the fact that there are pubs in Middle-earth.
Yes, I drink things to this day. I like, of course, feeling elevated, but I'm very fond of beer.
They were washed, and in the middle of good deep mugs of beer, when Mr. Butterbur and Nob came in again. In a twinkling, the table was laid. There was hot soup, cold meats, a blackberry tart, new loaves, slabs of butter, and half a ripe cheese. Good plain food, as good as the Shah could show.
And stuff like tobacco.
I've always always smoked. I sometimes smoke beyond the point when you enjoy it, which is silly, but I do smoke and enjoy it. And as a matter of fact, it's now so tied to writing that I can't write without it.
All these are sort of homely, pleasant things, and it's the sort of basis of things homely in the Shire that makes the big expansion into romantic wildernesses so much more exciting.
The fireworks were by Gandalf. They were not only brought by him, but designed and made by him. And the special effects, set pieces and flights of rockets were let off by him.
That's a good one. What a high dead one.
There were rockets like a flight of scintillating birds, singing with sweet voices. There were trees with trunks of dark smoke, and their shiny branches dropped glowing flowers down upon the astonished hobbits, disappearing with a sweet scent just before they touched their upturned faces. That is the signal for supper, said Bilbo.